Welcome to Expat American. I am the Expat American driving 5,000 kilometers into Russia. That is the subject of today's live stream. As always, we're going to be taking audience questions and we're going to be meeting someone new, a Western man who has driven 5,000 kilometers into Russia. We want to find out why. I'll tell you who I think he is, and then he can correct the record. I believe his name is Martin, and Martin is from the British Isles, and he is, of course, married to a Russian woman, as we all are over here. And he has, I think, 2.5 kids and a fondness for chickens, perhaps. I'm not exactly sure. So, Martin, tell us, who are you?
Yes, that's correct. But I'll pronounce my name correct. Martin. There you go.
Okay.
No, it's just the English way. I'm joking there with you, Joseph. Yeah, so Martin. And because it's spelled,
I don't know the difference.
because it's spelled with a Y, it's like, how do you pronounce your name? So yeah, it's Martin. I'm from the UK, Wales actually, hence the thumbnail. I have 4 children, so I think I'm catching you up.
4. Wow. Very good.
Yes, 4 children. And yes, married to my beautiful Russian wife. I think it's coming up to 8 years in March. So, wow, that's a big 8 years we've been together. 10 years in total since we met in the UK. And now we are living in Russia. So, yes, it's a bit of a radical journey we've had. So yeah, that's kind of my life at the moment. If you want me to add any more there, but just let me know.
So tell us, because we have an international audience, how the breakdown is. So you're from Britain or Wales or the British Isles. I want you to explain it for people, how that works exactly.
How do we say this? So Britain is England, Wales, Scotland. That's the British Isles. But then the United Kingdom, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this is how it reads in the passport. That includes Northern Ireland as well. So the top bit of Ireland, there's a border there, and that's part of the United Kingdom and British Isles. So, but then each country is its own kind of devolved government, I would say. So kind of like in America, different states where you have kind of different governments. So yeah, we've got Wales, Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland, and then kind of some of the smaller islands like the Isle of Man, Isle of Wight, again. So it's a very complicated country. It's a small country, but very, very complicated in terms of what does it consist of.
Very good. So just to be clear, Ireland, not Northern Ireland, is a separate thing. But is it considered on the British Isles or is it not the British Isles?
So no, the island itself, as in the Republic of Ireland, that's what it's called. So it's now, I think it became a republic in like 1920. It was part of Britain up until about the 1920s, 1919, 1920. So Southern Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland, is not part of Britain now.
Yeah, I know it's not technically part of the governmental system. It's its own thing. But I always assumed, I guess I'm learning something new here, that it was on the British Islands, like that cluster of islands. So although it was not Britain, it was part of the British Isles. Like I'm from Florida, and in Florida I live on the Gulf of Mexico, but I'm not in Mexico. So you're saying Ireland's not even considered a British isle.
If there's any Irish people on here, it's not part of Britain or the British Isles in any way. It's part of the EU, I would say.
So what you're saying, Martin, is you're saying this now in case Irish people are listening, but when they're not, I'm just teasing.
Maybe.
So okay, cool. So maybe it's a touchy subject. Fair enough.
It's very touchy because I'm an Englishman. I was born in England, but I lived in Wales since I was 9 years old. So I've lived there the majority of my life, and there's even a lot of rivalry between Wales and England. Everyone seems to hate England, you know. Everyone's like, oh, we don't like the English, you know. It's and like when you're watching a football team, for example, me being an Englishman, I'll support Wales, I'll support Scotland if they're, say, playing, I don't know, the USA or Australia or something. But the Welsh or the Scottish will support the other team that's playing England. So yeah, that's what I had growing up.
Well, I think it's human nature to support the underdog, and you know, the world feels like England has had it pretty good for the past couple hundred years. So, right, something like that.
Something like that, because yeah, it's it's something like that, isn't it?
It's the same thing being an American, I think now. You know,
I was just about to say the same thing. It's that kind of, yeah, we were an empire type thing. So yeah, it's it's the baggage that comes along with it.
And to be fair, my DNA test that I took could not distinguish whether or not I was 50% English or 50% Irish. So I just picked the English one because, you know, why not? Right. Now some people are going to be upset with me. I don't really know, guys.
I think somebody's just put in the comments that what the British Isles are. So,
oh, okay, cool. So
there,
yeah, so we'll take a look at that. And I'm going to ask him the next question, and we'll bounce back and forth, guys. If you're in the live stream, thank you. We'll bounce back and forth between my questions and your questions. But I want to encourage you all right now to click share and send this to people right now if you haven't. And even if you have, do it to someone else, because it's more fun if the live stream's bigger. And it's important for the show, important for the algorithm, for us to do well and be able to continue to make episodes and see and interview more people. And again, this is Expat American, and I typically like to do 10 to 30-minute edited shows showing Russia out on the street with some information and entertainment. But we also do these live streams as well, where we can talk a little bit more in depth with people. And the subject for today is that he drove for 5,000 kilometers, he told me. And I want to find out now from you, Martin, what happened. Tell us that story, because that's an amazing fact about you.
Yeah, so I think let me start with why we came initially to Russia. So because of what's gone on, obviously the last 2-3 years with the craziness of the world, and obviously travel was kind of restricted, I would say, somewhat, even before kind of what's happened again there recently here. We hadn't seen my wife's family here in Russia for, I think it was getting on for about 2, possibly 3 years. So we thought it was important. So we kind of organised a family holiday for a month at the end of October 2022. So we came for a month. We arrived in St. Petersburg, a couple of days there, went down to Moscow, a couple of days there, and then we got one of the kind of sleeper trains, I call them, with the carriages, a nice trip to Orenburg. And we obviously met Yulia's parents in Orenburg. We stayed with them for the first kind of 2-3 weeks. In that time we were here, we enjoyed ourselves so much, mainly the children and myself. We decided to prolong our stay. So we decided to basically see what the Russian winter was like. That's what the main reason was for our stay, as well as the children wanting to be with family and for them liking being here in Russia so much. So we initially were extending it till April of 2023. So that would have been October to April. So it would have given us a good 6 months. But then obviously we kind of worked out, we need to put the children in school and things like that. So obviously we found schools, but obviously I needed a car. It was quite not difficult, but I'm not really used to using, shall I say, public transport so much, especially when you're doing important things like school runs, school drop-offs and pickups. So I was like, right, there's 2 ways about this. I've got at that moment in time, I had 2 cars just sat on the drive in the UK gathering dust, basically. So I was like, okay, maybe I could drive to Russia. and for a different reason. Obviously, we needed quite a few more things that we'd left back in the UK. So like clothes, certain items, certain just things, obviously, that you're used to within in your life. So kind of worked out what's the easiest and best way to get things from the UK to Russia. And obviously you research like using shipping containers and things like that, and it was just we found it wasn't easy, and it was becoming so expensive to even try and think of getting a container of stuff across. So I flew back in the end of October, sorted a few things out with the house, got in my car, and decided to drive to Russia.
Wow.
That's it in a nutshell.
Wow. Okay, so I see what you mean. From a technical standpoint, although it might be difficult, it makes sense, because then all of a sudden you have a small mobile storage unit to get yourself and more of your stuff and your vehicle to Russia, if you can stand the chore of driving for that long. Because I came from Florida and I had a car that was not that old and we liked it and we had a lot of stuff. And so we also researched, what can we actually bring with us? And it was cost prohibitive to bring the car. So we decided to sell it. And then we realized, we're only going to bring what we can carry, one backpack, one rucksack, and one piece of luggage, so it was clothes and paperwork and, electronics and, kids' toys, basically, and it was kind of exciting to have to just cut everything loose, but just the bare necessities, and just get on a plane and just go over here. Because for us, it was 8 days for the special military operations. So there was still no problem to fly directly from New York to Moscow, something like that. Wow. Okay, cool. So how was the journey?
So the journey, I don't know, it doesn't kind of faze me driving long distances. I've always driven to the south of France, or I've actually lived in quite a few different countries. I've lived in America. I've lived in Florida, actually. So
really,
yeah, I lived there for 9 months in Kissimmee, Orlando.
Yes, it's very good.
Kissimmee, wow. Yes, love it or hate it there. But I learned. Sorry, I learned to fly planes in Florida.
Wow.
Orlando Flight Training School. Yeah, so I'm used to kind of traveling in something that's, like even flying planes. Yeah, I've got a private pilot's license on the back of being there on Florida. I've lived in Australia for 2 years. I've lived in Spain, and everywhere I've been, I've always traveled. So, and it's mainly been driving or, internal flights and things like that. So it didn't really kind of faze me. It was just, I think the only problems I was playing with in my head were, what people were saying, that I'm kind of crazy when I get to the border. You're crazy kind of driving an English car into Russia. This wasn't just coming from English people. This were friends that we had in England that were Russian. They were like, that's, especially at this moment in time with the SMO on it, it's just, you'd be crazy, because basically, yeah, it had a UK number plate on there, right hand drive car, the Union Jack flag on there. So it's like advertising, yeah, I'm an Englishman here. So that's kind of the only thing that kind of fazed me. But the journey in itself was relatively okay. I wanted to do it as quickly as I can, so I didn't really book into any kind of hotels this side of the Russian border, so the European. I did stay in kind of like a McDonald's car park. I stayed on the side of, I stayed and slept in my car pretty much all the way through Europe. It's just mainly because I wanted to get to the Russian border as quickly as I could. So did
it cross your mind you should take the Union Jack flag off your car?
Well, I think by law you have to have it. It's
okay. It was part of your license.
Yeah, especially driving through Europe. But I don't know. It did cross my mind, but it's yeah, I didn't want to do anything wrong. It's what, kind of what I've read. You have to show what country this car is from. So yeah, but
Because even if you hate Britain, I'm not saying I do, obviously, I don't. People who watch the show know I don't. You have to admit, from an artistic standpoint, it's the best flag in the world. I gotta say, it's just a very cool design. And I even thought, oh, it'd be cool to have it on some of my clothes or something. But when I was coming to Russia to live, I was like, I'm probably not gonna do that, just in case. I think it's totally fine to do it now. I mean, I'm still not going to, because I think it'd be confusing, because I'm known as the American in Russia, and that would be kind of weird. Why is he wearing a British flag? But yeah, very, very interesting. So, and what month was this exactly? What month and year?
yeah, so this was November. Yeah, November the 11th, 2022.
Ah, wow. Okay.
So
Okay. Wow. So everything
just
was fresh.
everything was
Um,
fresh. So kind of
did
the
you
other
have to pick a certain route that you thought was safer, or were you just like, whatever, I'm just going?
So I just, obviously I put it into like Google Maps to see. Obviously you couldn't travel. The quickest way was to go through kind of Belarus, then through Ukraine, and then into Russia. That is the quickest route. But
Hmm.
obviously you can't go into Belarus. You're
Hmm.
not allowed to drive in there. So you kind of had to go up through Germany, Poland, um, Lithuania, Latvia, past Kaliningrad, then into Latvia and cross the border there, which then gets you over to Moscow, pretty much parallel, and then can take you down on the main road. So that was the quickest route that avoided obviously going through Belarus or Ukraine. For obvious reasons, we couldn't go through there.
Right. Right. Very interesting. And maybe you said this. So were you driving by yourself, or did you take your family with you? I forget.
So no, I flew back by myself because just what I wanted to add to one of the reasons why I chose to drive is because back in November 2022 when things were so fresh, like you just said, it was quite difficult, I would say, then to cross the border. We originally did it with our family when we first came to Russia. We crossed in Estonia over to St. Petersburg, and
Uh-huh.
even that initial crossing was quite difficult. So I
Uh-huh.
didn't want to bring the children back and then them have to go through what
Right.
was quite a long time of crossing the border. So it was just me. And even at that time, then we hadn't really explored it. It was kind of like, what flights are even available at that time? What countries can you fly to even get to Russia at the moment? There was no direct flights. Everything had been stopped. So it's only now you can kind of understand. Yes, there's Turkey, the UAE, Serbia, but even that, it's the flights can become quite expensive. They're not readily available still. So it was just like, yeah, let's get my car, let's get the stuff in. Things like the paperwork, what you just said, that you want to physically hold on to because of kind of a little bit of the uncertainty of traveling across the borders and things like that. So it was like, I'll be in my car, I'll have all my stuff, I can stay with it wherever I am, and I can get. And then when I'm got to my destination in Orenburg, I've got a vehicle then as well. So that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it's helpful. I mean, because I thought when I got here, I'd need to buy a car. I still haven't bought a car. It's been over 2 years, but then I'm in Moscow, so I don't really need one. So here's our first audience question, which is kind of on topic of where we are in your life story. How were the border crossings? Did he have any car troubles? I guess it's two questions for you, Martin.
Yeah, so I think what you mean by car troubles, I don't think you mean kind of breaking down or anything like that. I didn't, luckily, nothing went wrong with my car. I'd had it all checked before I came. I got winter tires put on there because, yes, even in Europe, we were somewhat going into winter. So I had the car kind of winter ready. So I didn't have any problems. Put all the things in the back with spare oil, spare kind of everything. So no problems in that sense. But I
Good.
will say, the border wasn't an easy crossing at all in a vehicle, no. Having known how difficult it was in terms of how long it took, um, would I do it again? I'm 50-50 on it, to be honest. I don't know how the borders are now, but because everything that was going on, it was so fresh, like we keep saying, the Latvian border, there's only 2 kind of crossings you can come across. And the first one I got to. So just to backtrack a little bit, so I said I came back with myself, but the idea was to meet my wife at the Russian border.
Okay.
So my wife flew from Orenburg to Moscow and got the bus to the Latvian border, and she was there. Kind of we kind of somehow liaised it, so we met at the border. She crossed from Russia. She walked over the border and met me in the car in the queue for the crossing of the for getting over the border. But to answer that question a little bit further, no, it was huge amount of queues. There was nothing but what we call lorries or semi trucks. You call them trucks.
Yes.
The big kind of trailer trucks. Huge 18-wheelers or whatever they are. There must have been 100, 200 of them queued up. Because of the border, the Latvian side, they had to do their checks, and it was the checks coming into Russia. So processing each vehicle was taking 1, 2, 3 hours. So then you queued back like that. So no, it wasn't easy, and there was a lot of checks on your vehicle when you get into Russia as well. They thoroughly check your vehicle. Basically take it apart and put it back together again.
Really? Like how so?
Yeah,
You mean they just open everything they can and turn everything inside and out? They're not taking a screwdriver to it.
No, maybe not to that extent. I was joking there a little bit, but yeah, they'll kind of anything they can open, they'll check to see if you're hiding everything. And yeah, they do like a big scan on the car, so it's thoroughly checked. But I don't blame them for that. It's obviously with what's going on, it's for security. He's an Englishman driving an English car that's just been through Europe. Why wouldn't they want to check this vehicle? So I've got nothing wrong with that, but it's just it takes a very long time with the amount of vehicles that are trying to get through.
Right. Okay, so we have a teasing question. I hope you're a strong man, Martin, and you can handle it. This is from Svetlana. She's kind of like Josiah. She likes to poke at people and me. Ireland is a part of the British Isles. Is this guy who he says he is, or just typical British education? Would you like to comment on that, Martin? You can be serious or jokingly mean.
Okay, I kind of agree with that. Yes, you could say it's really complicated. It's not part of the British education. Ireland is a republic. I'll leave it at that. That's how Ireland see themselves, as a republic. So I'm trying to just keep.
I see.
Cool.
So what I'm getting for you is, for someone who is from that part of the world, it's sort of a political touchy question. Is that right?
Yeah, very, very much so. If
you were to ask me about race while I'm living in America, I'd rather not get into it, right?
Exactly that, but yeah, it's complicated.
Okay, very good. So here's another question: how do you bring money into Russia?
This is
now. Say what you want to say. You don't have to talk about your personal life if you don't want to. People ask this question all the time. There's different ways to answer it, and you can pass on it if you want.
Yeah, so the limit you can bring in cash is $10,000. That is probably the easiest way. Obviously, how safe is that, carrying $10,000 on you? Yeah, you have to tell them on the border, but that's your limit. And then I think it's that or euro. You can as long as the banknotes are pristine, no stains, no damages to them. As long as the US dollar notes or euro notes are in pristine condition, they will pretty much exchange them for ruble anywhere within Russia. But your limit is $10,000. So that's kind of an easy way when you first cross the border. For myself,
meaning 10,000. If it's under 10,000, you don't have to declare it. So it's just simpler. You don't have to fill out paperwork and make a declaration. So you could technically bring more, right?
Yeah, but you have to declare it then. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I've heard that euros are no good. Is that true or not true?
to be honest, I brought US dollar because, you know, let's be honest, it's the strongest currency, isn't it? So it's like, or is it anymore? But it's yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't actually know with euros, but that's what we're told. You can maybe in Moscow. I don't know some of the provincial cities, but pounds. I'm used to pounds. They wouldn't accept my pounds, so they were like,
Really?
we don't want your pounds.
Very, very interesting. Okay, next question. What is Martin's favorite team in English Premier League? And his name is spelled with a Y, not an I.
And it's Premier League, not Premier League.
Premier League. Okay, Premier League. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I'm not an athlete. Well, I exercise, but I'm not a team sports guy.
So I don't know. I'm a bit embarrassed to say this at the moment because they're doing so terrible at the moment since Sir Alex Ferguson left. So Manchester United.
All right. Stand by your team, man, whether they do bad or not.
Absolutely.
And we had another question before the show started, also from Svetlana, I believe, who was thinking that 5,000 kilometers sounds a bit too far. Are you able to explain that, or no?
I'll say it's a long journey. Like if you can think from like England to the kind of south of France is what 1,000 kilometers or so, and that's like a 19-hour drive. So 5,000 kilometers. It's what can I say? It's a long drive. It's actually more than 5,000. It's 5,600 kilometers to be precise from Wales, my house, to the door. Julia's parents. It was 5,660 kilometers. So it's a long way. Yes. I would, if you're going to do something like that, I would probably plan it a little bit better with more kind of stops and places to stay. Like I said, through Europe, I just wanted to get to see my wife. I just wanted to see my wife. I wanted to get into Russia. So that was why I did that leg of the journey so quick. It wasn't dangerous. I got my sleep, I rested, things like that. But I just wanted, I wanted out of Europe. It's horrible to say. I wanted to get to Russia. I wanted to get back into Russia. So I did that leg so quick, as quickly as I could. But then the Russian leg with my wife, we stopped at 2 hotels overnight. So we stopped twice overnight at a proper hotel, which made it a lot easier, I will say.
Okay. All right. Very good. So here's the next question. Orenburg. Tell us about Orenburg. Is it in Europe? Is it in Asia? Obviously, it's in Russia, but Russia is so big. You have like European parts of Russia and Asian parts of Russia.
Wow, that's quite a good question, actually. I like that one. So yeah, the Ural River, kind of just south of the city, the center of the city. There's actually a bridge that goes over, and it's the one side it's Asia, and this side was still in Europe. So the city side was still in Europe. As soon as you go over the bridge, you're pretty much you're actually in Asia then. So Orenburg, I would say it's more of a European feel than an Asian feel. I find it. That's from me being here. It's kind of initially shocked me how similar even a provincial city like this is, so deep into Russia, how similar it is to being in a European country, European city, or similar to Moscow or similar to St. Petersburg. Obviously not as big and not as kind of well known, but I would still say it has more of a European feel, but it is very multiculturalism here. It has a lot of kind of different ethnic groups here, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, some Russians will get irritated and say, "It is Europe. We are in Europe." When you say it's like Europe, when we say it's like Europe, guys, we don't mean that Russia's not Europe. We're just trying to describe it to the rest of the world.
That's exactly right. It's not. Yeah, we don't mean it's not like that. It's just people don't realize, and this is part of why me and Joseph are doing this with the channels. It's just it's exactly right.
Very good. How long has your channel been going, by the way?
So on the back of the chicken comment, when I was in the UK, I thought it'd be quite interesting. We got some chickens, and I thought it'd be quite interesting to kind of film that and with the kids and stuff. You got some good views. So it was, I think it was called A Little Bit Different. So that's kind of why I left that old footage on there. You can kind of see what the UK garden was like, a typical UK kind of country garden was. But the Russian Travels channel now has been going exactly a month yesterday.
Wow, only a month.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and you've been interviewed by the news and you're popping up on different channels. Very good, sir.
Yeah, it's wow, I'm looking at myself now. Yeah, my eyes are a little bit red. It's been absolutely intense. We never expected it to take off this fast, but it's not just about kind of the subscriber count and the views. It's the community that's behind it all. The amount of amazing, beautiful, interesting comments, not just from Russia, from I would say pretty much every country in the world we've had a message from. So it's built its own community now, and that's what shocked me and really inspired me to want to carry on with the channel, is that kind of community that's there, that's spreading this positivity, this love, whatever you really want to call it. It's just incredible. Yeah,
it is. It absolutely is. And I think that because you and we're telling the world Russia's normal place, and Russians are happy to hear it because they're sick of hearing from the world that it's a bad place. And the world, who is open-minded and is ready to listen, they're excited to hear it because they're like, "What? Is it true?" And some people are very inspired by the videos that I've done, and they leave comments that just make me want to cry, in a positive way. And I'm so grateful, that I get to do this with my life right now, and that I get to have a positive influence on the world. Because I've said before, I thought that I'd pretty much done everything I was going to do. I was thinking that was it, and so now to be able to do this now and to be able to touch lives, it's incredible, very incredible. So I'm happy to see that you're doing it now too. So
yeah, if I can just quickly add to that as well. Yeah, I thought I was kind of done. I was like, I just want a quiet life now to do something in Russia, but not to the extent of being so kind of in the public eye or something like that. I was ready to calm down a little bit. But I think, look, you were one of the first channels I watched, Joseph, Expat American, when I first come to Russia. And it's firstly what your channel did was reassure me that I was doing the right thing. I wasn't the only person. I wasn't kind of crazy, if that makes sense. There was an American guy with a family, married to a Russian woman, and they'd moved for similar reasons to what we'd moved for. So it was your channel was reassuring, right, exactly at the right time. And even with my channel, I didn't kind of start it to copy you in a way. It felt like it was my duty to do it. I know that might sound like really corny to people, but it felt like it was my duty to give something back to Russia. That's why I started it.
No, what you're doing is very, very important, because it can help break the myth that Moscow is the city made of gold and the rest of Russia is suffering, because that is just not the case. Does that mean there are no poor places that are having a hard time in Russia? No, there are, but there are also in America, and I assume in the British Isles as well. So,
yeah.
Very cool. All right. So next question here about visas. What visa do you have? Do you have permanent residency?
Yeah. So initially I came on the extended family holiday visa, is it called, where it gives you 12 months with the invitation letter. Then having decided to stay, and we wanted to stay for I would say the foreseeable future now. We're not going anywhere. I went for permanent residency, so I do have permanent residency. Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. I accidentally put the next question up. Does Martin speak Russian? If so, what Russian novels has he read and enjoyed?
Yeah. Спасибо.
Go ahead. I want to hear it. Say it again.
Do I speak Russian? Нет русский. Everywhere I go, sorry, нет русский.
Say, я плохо понимаю по-русски, извини.
I think I've kind of answered that. I'm not a linguist. I'm more of a kind of technical kind of minded person, and computers, things like that. And even literature, I will say, hasn't been my forte growing up. I did know Pushkin before I even got to Orenburg, even before I got to Russia, because we were obviously in the UK. We had certain Russian traditions we would like to bring into our family environment, even being in the UK. So yes, I had heard of certain kind of Russian poems, things like that, but I can't read Russian very well. Being here, I can read a whole lot better than when I first arrived. You know, what's this scary, weird language everywhere you go. But now you do get used to it. But do I know what I'm reading half the time? No, I don't. It's still the vocabulary and things like that. But I don't know. It's kind of being an Englishman as well, because I'm English. It's everywhere we go, English is spoken. So even here in Orenburg, yes, there's people that speak English, and you can kind of get by. And even going to a supermarket, even things are written in English, and there's more English here than you realize once you kind of look into it. And say even you order something online from Kazan or Wild Berries, or instructions will come in English. So it's a bit lazy because it's still kind of easy to get by, and then there's Google Translate and things like that. I think the only time it does get difficult is when it's serious paperwork stuff to do. That's when you need a Russian or a translator. So I want to learn it, is my point here, but it's difficult, and I'm a little bit lazy with it.
Yeah, it's difficult, and it'll be harder if you have a popular channel because in English, because you're spending so much time doing stuff in English for the channel. It definitely has slowed me down. I'm still taking my lessons twice a week. Before I did that, I was on Duolingo. And if you're thinking of immigrating to Russia, you definitely need to do as much as you can to start to learn the language. Because if you don't know the language at all, it is tough. I mean, if you're going to be in a big city, it's easier. And like Martin said, there are still a lot of English options, but not always. And the first time I came here was in 2012 as a tourist. And back then, the public transportation and state signs, they did not have English options. Like now you can see Latin spellings of the names of things, like in the Moscow Metro and things like that. They didn't have that. And I didn't know Russian at all. I didn't know the alphabet. I didn't know any of the letters. And I had taken Sveta on a date. She wasn't even my wife. And then I took her home, and then I had to go back to where I was staying in Moscow in the dark on the metro. And I had to like be told ahead of time how many stops I was going to go. And I had to keep track of the stops, because I mean, just think about it, guys. If you only know one language and you're in a country where it's a completely different alphabet, you look at the letters and you can't even sound it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look at like and subscribe. Subscribe there. I can sound it out if I have no idea what the word is and I can't even read it. I at least know.
And even being in a Latin language country like Spain or Italy or France, you can kind of sound it out.
Yes,
but,
exactly. If you're in Mexico and you're an American, if you don't speak Spanish, you can still sound it out and have some idea. If someone says you need to go to Amarillo or something, you can read Amarillo. But yeah,
But
very,
the
very
crazy alphabet. So I'll just say, learn the alphabet. My wife was on about me for years before. Just learn the alphabet. Learn the alphabet. I was like, yeah, okay, I will. When I got here now, yeah, Duolingo does help to begin with. I think just learn the alphabet, and that does help somewhat. As soon as you understand the 36 characters, I think it is. So yeah.
Yeah, Duolingo is a great, great thing. It's a free app on your phone, and you just do like 5 or 10 minutes a day, and you'll slowly start to learn about it. Okay, so what cities, this is my question, what cities and regions have you been in Russia besides Orenburg? Is it just Orenburg? You just drove straight into Orenburg, or have you been to other places?
So I've been to St. Petersburg.
Uh-huh.
Incredible city. Is it my
Mhm.
favorite? Yes, no, it's definitely up there. It's just fascinating. The architecture is what did it for me in St. Petersburg. I know a lot of people will say that, but yeah, it was just a fascinating, beautiful city. Just the palaces. It's just it's just wow, wow, and the history of it. Why it was formed and everything. It's just such an interesting, vibrant city. Um, Moscow. Moscow's Moscow. It's just massive. It's just huge. Even I'm used to London. I'm used to Sydney in Australia, places like that. But Moscow is just. It seems bigger. I don't know. I think it's because of the roads that kind of go through the heart of the city. These. I don't know how many lanes there are, 6 or 10 lanes. It's just. It's massive, and it's just absolutely mesmerizing. Moscow is. I need to come back to Moscow. I haven't spent enough time in Moscow, so that is definitely on the list as soon as this weather gets better, because it's pretty icy here in Orenburg at the moment. The other place I've been to, this was another drive I did. I drove from Orenburg to Kazan.
Mhm.
That was, I think, 900 kilometers.
Mhm.
It was something I had to some paperwork I had to do with a car up there. So it was a drive. And do you know what? The drive through all that region, right through up to Kazan, is, I would say, one of the most beautiful drives I have ever done in my entire life. And like I
Really?
said, it was fascinating on every single level, because you drive, because Orenburg is known for gas, and then as you go further north to Kazan, it's known for the oil fields there. Not some of the biggest oil fields, but it's the first time I kind of seen, the drills that go, the pumps that getting the oil out of the ground, they rocking, and you just see them all in the countryside. This beautiful rolling kind of countryside. It reminded me in places of the English countryside, and it was just
Mhm.
something I wasn't kind of expecting, because my initial drive from Moscow to Orenburg, it was nothing but flat, open, felt like the country would just go on forever. That's kind of my experience of coming that way. But going north, it felt more green, more rolling hills, and just this absolute beauty. And then Kazan, yes, I know it's a republic, but we were just as welcomed up there as anywhere we'd been. Again, and driving an English plated car, still at the time up in Kazan, it was no problems, and we were again welcomed, and it was a very beautiful city, again, one of the nicest cities in Russia again. So yeah, Kazan. That's about it.
Kazan is beautiful. It is a half Christian, half Muslim city.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to go there and see it. And I wouldn't know that about it if someone didn't tell me. I mean, it seems completely, typical, beautiful tourist city. Of course, there's a beautiful mosque in the center. I've
Yeah.
only been there for winter. I did one trip there with the family. We did a video series on our channel called Not Moscow, and just had a great, great time. So it sounds like the big cities in Russia. And how would you describe Orenburg? Is this like a small town, small city? What is it like?
So I wouldn't say it's the smallest city, because even though we've called it a provincial city, there's a few people in comments things. No, it's not like it's a small town. So I pretty much my biggest city in the UK is Bristol. I don't know, it's in the southwest of England. It is quite an important city. It's where Isambard, Kingdom Brunel did all this stuff back in the day. So Bristol, which is about the same size as Orenburg, and Bristol is quite a big city in the UK. So comparing it to England in terms of the size of cities, yes, Orenburg is a big city. If you ask me, it shocks me how big it is, because Orenburg, nobody's heard of it. It's really, maybe they've heard of the region, maybe they've heard of the steppes or the Urals, things like that. But the actual city, I think I'm trying to put it on the map here. You know, it's literally nobody's really heard of it, but it's.
I know, isn't that crazy? There's all these places in Russia that, as a Westerner, I was never told about. Like wonderful places, beautiful places to see and do. You know, like Karelia, for instance. I mean, you could go on and on. And you know, it's like, it's almost like the mainstream media doesn't want us to know about this place, but maybe I'm just paranoid.
But on the scale of it, I will be honest. When I first got it, I was probably the only English person within Orenburg. So that kind of, because the kind of immigration, well, I don't know where we got that from, but I was the only English man in Orenburg. I probably, even now, I'm the only English person here, apart from my children. So in that sense of, it's not backwards, anything like that. It's just as vibrant, and the architecture, and it has everything you can do here, from recreation to sports to, you know, international airport, all of these things that you need to be able to live, you know, comfortable like any other city in the world. But yeah, in terms of a travel spot, travel destination, not really for foreigners. So yeah, nobody's really heard of Orenburg.
It's a nice place to live, but there's nothing drawing a tourist there. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, not at the moment, because I think it wasn't even a city that was kind of chosen for when they held the World Cup, you know, the football soccer World Cup. So it's always like Samara's the next biggest one, or even Nizhny or Kazan. You know, they're the kind of, or Yekaterinburg. They're kind of the bigger one. They're kind of the cities you'd know within its kind of, I don't know what, 1,000-kilometer radius. If that kind of makes sense. But it, you know, if you read the history of it, it is an important city. You know, it is important here, and it's, you know, it's borders Asia. It's pretty much it's a link or a hub to Kazakhstan. You know, so it is quite an important strategic kind of place, city, or region for that self. It's a vast region. I think the whole region is as big as England, for example. You know, it's a massive region as well. Well, maybe not compared to some other regions in Russia, but compared to what I'm used to, it's a fascinating region. It has, I would say, a great climate. It's got its seasons. 6 months of the year, it's got a great summer. Yes, it can get rather hot. It can get up to 40 odd degrees Celsius. But also now it has a great winter, you know, with obviously it's very cold here. But if you like a proper winter, you've got best of both seasons as well. So I like it here. It's easy living, very easy living.
Very good. So it sounds like you have a good idea of, with your life, that where you've been, what Russian big cities and small cities are like, and the same in regards to the British Isles. You've spent time in big cities and small cities, and even in America as well, with Florida. So how would you like to compare and contrast Russia with the other parts of the world that you've been to? That's my question. To help people that are thinking about immigrating, or to help Russians that are curious about the rest of the world that haven't gotten out much.
I don't know. This is such a kind of vast,
very vast. Think about, let's say, the culture. Think about safety. Think about, you know, and maybe it's not different at all. Maybe it's exactly the same in some areas.
I think I'm going to twist it around, to what I've noticed, and from what I'd originally been told, what it's going to be like, as not just in England, what it's going to be like. It's the similarities are pretty much the same as any other city you go to in the rest of the world.
Okay.
It's has, you know, everything you can imagine. Everything's working here. You know, it's got cafes, restaurants, you know, schools. Everybody here is doing what people do in the rest of the world. They're getting on with their lives. They're taking their kids to school. They're going to church. They're skiing in the winter. They're swimming in the lakes and rivers in the summer. They're on their dachas growing vegetables. You know, it's
Dacha is a country home, basically, in case you don't know.
well, I've had that. I did have a video up on my channel about what is a dacha, and I've
Good. Check out his channel, guys. And for sure, and take a look now. It's right under his name at Russian Travels. So I definitely want you to go check out his channel and subscribe. But yeah, okay. So he has a video explaining to you what a dacha is. Because people talk about dachas a lot over here, and I never heard the word until I came here.
But a few bad comments on that, because I've just shown like a vegetable patch of part of the dacha, and everyone's like, that's not a dacha, that's just a vegetable garden. It's like, it's a dacha, a summer home with a vegetable patch. So yeah, it's just, that video was to show what can actually be grown in this region and what actually people are doing. They're not just stuck with a horse and cart and it's all horrible and unsafe and there's no culture, there's no nothing. It's such a fascinating country. I've been lucky to experience it in a number of different ways by driving through here. I've built a house here, which I'm sat in now. This house wasn't here only 6 months ago. You know, so I've worked with kind of, you know, from tradespeople to pretty much to, you know, just everybody you kind of meet when you're doing these different things. So I've met a variety of people, and to me, the Russian people are smarter than you realize. They're very, very clever people. They have this immense pride, this immense kind of attention to detail. Whatever it is they do, they will go above and beyond to get that kind of task done or to do what they're set out to do. And most importantly, they will welcome you, you know, as well. I was welcome right from the start, and that's what made me want to stay, was just how genuinely welcomed and kind of how enthusiastically they wanted to get to know me. You know, it was like, it wasn't false. It was really kind of true with they want to get to know me. So it made me feel safe and just really enjoy where I am. Yeah, just fascinating.
So Slavic people are just as good as Anglo-Saxons, is what you're saying?
Yeah, if not better.
So I find this interesting. So you're telling me you built your own house, like you met with subcontractors and built the house you wanted that you're sitting in right now?
Yeah. So we had another child beginning of found out beginning of last year. She was born in when was it? July. That many kids, you can't remember, can you? July, just last year. So we needed more room. So we were living in a flat at the time. So we explored houses. So there was a nice developer here that kind of bought plots, and then you had different designs of what you could choose for them to build. But the reason why we liked this idea was you weren't building it from scratch yourself, but you kind of had input with the developer as you went along in the build process. So if you wanted to change here, a subtle change there, or where you wanted the plumbing going, the electrics going, and then kind of the house is handed over to you is what they call like a grey finish here, where it's the grey walls inside. So it's pretty much the bare walls, no ceiling, no flooring, and then it's kind of then up to you. You've been signed over the house from the developer. It's then up to you to then get all the other contractors in.
It's like a concrete skeleton for people that don't know.
And then it's up to you to then get in all the other kind of tradespeople to do the rest of the house in terms of flooring, ceilings, plastering, electric, stuff like that. So kitchen, bathroom, etc.
Now tell me, because I haven't done this yet, when it's a concrete skeleton like that, does it include like the locked front door and sealed windows, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, so it is a contained thing. And then
if you wanted to,
dress the inside.
Yeah, and things like they've done certain amount of electric, so there's like one light in the kitchen.
Okay, so the wires are in place and the plumbing is in place, but then you would
plumbing's in place, but not like the actual toilet base and all.
Yes, exactly.
You could, if you wanted to put a mattress on the floor, you're in a sealed, lockable, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Well, again, guys, if you're just joining us and you're enjoying the conversation, this is Expat American, and I've got a British guy on. We both have channels in Russia. We're showing the world that Russia's a normal place. Leave a donation if you like. Send us a question if you like. That's someone calling me. Let me hang up on them. Sorry about that. That was Preston from one of my other live streams and from the Ukrainian cafe or restaurant video. Anyway, so guys, make a donation, click like, subscribe, share this video. We're going to go for about 30 more minutes. And I have another question here. Oh, you know what? I want to do my question first. Sorry, Svetlana V, you're going to have to wait. And my question is, because you described that Russia is just like everywhere else. So if that's the case, and it is so normal, then why did you leave the British Isles and come here?
Okay, so I say, it's similar in terms of general kind of living, it's all the needs, things like that. Yes, shops, everything, all the conveniences. But I think the difference is here. It's a big one, and it's why one of the reasons why we stayed is the true family values that are here. That's a big one. In the country I previously lived in, was there certain things being pushed? Yes, there was. So as a Christian, an Orthodox Christian, our family is, we kind of had to make a decision on certain agendas that were being pushed. Certain amounts of, obviously, Russophobia on the back of that as well. So Russia still has its true family values, and that's not made up. It's even in through Christianity. Christianity, the Orthodox, is a huge part of the Russian culture, the Russian life. You just have to see how many monasteries, how many churches, Orthodox churches there are throughout Russia. Beautiful, beautiful architectural buildings, and so in Russia, it seems like Christianity is here to stay, as well as the traditional family values, as where it seems more Western areas seems to be going the other way. It's those values are somewhat erasing quite rapidly. So if you have Christian roots or something like that, it's Russia's different in that sense. It still has that big spirituality, big religion, both Christianity and Muslim. But it seems to get along side by side, from what I've experienced. For example, my eldest goes to an Orthodox Christian school, and right next door to it is a mosque. There's a mosque there, so there's a Christian church and a mosque, and side by side, and it seems to get along. Religion seems to have that kind of very good kind of sweet spot of not kind of against each other, if that makes sense. Mainly because what we just said about even Kazan, a big republic, big Muslim community there, and even on my street now, I've got friends who are Muslim and Christian, so that's the difference. I don't know if I'm going on a little bit down. I've touched on Christians.
No, I think the answer, the reason why it works, is because on the street you are a Russian first. Of course, in your home and with your subculture, you'd be a Christian first or whatever other religion you are. But I think in other places, you're encouraged to be your subculture first, and that can kind of tear the country apart because it's not unified. So, and if people don't know, when he says Orthodoxy, that's basically Eastern Christianity, because there's not a ton of Orthodox churches in America. I mean, people know, but not everyone knows. And so do you just felt like it was going to be more comfortable here, or was it more than that? Because it's a big move to move that far.
I think another big factor was kind of the cost of living crisis that was going on in the UK as well. It was one of the reasons why we wanted to extend the initial stay from a month to get through winter. Energy prices were spiraling out of control in the UK. It was ridiculous, even to the point where we thought, how on earth are we even going to afford to live in our own home come through winter? So we obviously had a chat with Yulia's mum and dad, my wife's parents. We thought, look, let's see and try and weigh up the cost of living against what the cost of living is in the UK. And this is, just general things like utilities, food, running a vehicle, stuff like this. So it was a big shock. It is a huge, it's a huge difference, the kind of cost of living here compared to what it is with the UK. And it only seems to be going up with your salary staying the same in the UK. So that was a big decision, was kind of, that helped to decide was, the kind of cost of living, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No, that's an important factor, especially when you're trying to raise children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now on to Svetlana's question. Do you think people in the West are fleeing rampant liberalism? Do you want to answer this political question, or do you want to pass?
I think yes and no. The people that understand what's going on, they want to leave. And even from the community that I've built within my small channel at the moment, well, it's kind of not so small anymore, but it's getting there. But it's people that don't understand the true details, they won't want to flee, but people that understand want to, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
That's that Preston guy calling me again while I'm on a live stream. Anyway, poor guy. I can't, my phone's attached to the computer. I can't talk to him right now. I mean, liberalism in itself is not a terribly bad idea, but it seems to be kind of getting out of hand in the world. Everything's got to have its balance. I try not to use liberal terms like liberal, Republican, Democrat, conservative, because that turns people off. Because it's like rooting for a football team. But you can't really argue with traditional family values, which I think is a good thing for the world, and I think anti-traditional family values is a bad thing for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said before, I think if you're going to have a big country with different cultures, you still have to have something that unites the country. And I think Russia understands that. And that's why I do think people are Russian first on the street, I would say. I wouldn't say they're just Russian first, period. Or at least I hope I haven't said that, because, I know that if you are a religious person, you're supposed to be that religious person first. But anyway, in America, I think that people are encouraged now from Washington, D.C. and the anti-traditional family values crowd to be their subculture first. And I think it's ripping the country apart. I don't know if you see that happening in the British Isles or not. But I mean, I say the British Isles a lot because I just want to be sure I don't step on anyone's toes. But even that might be.
Does that include Ireland?
What's that?
Does that include Ireland or not?
But I know that, for example, long ago, when America was younger and it was getting lots of immigrants, right? Where that was a time where it would have a tendency to want to feel pulled apart. For instance, like Henry Ford, who invented the assembly line for cars. He was a big deal, and he had lots of people from all over the world moving to Russia, immigrating to America to work there and to become Americans. And I heard that they would have big parties and like assembly halls and celebrations where the workers that had now immigrated here, they'd go on stage dressed in their native garb. They go behind a curtain on the stage, and then they come out the other side dressed not in their native garb, dressed as an American. And there was this celebration of becoming an American and everyone becoming united, everyone becoming one. And I think that there's something to be said for that if you're trying to hold together a large country. We all need to be aimed in the same direction.
Exactly.
So.
Because can I just say, it was like one of the proudest days of my life was getting my permanent residency here in Russia. I know it's not like citizenship, but do you know what? I was so proud to have that document. And that I truly mean that from the heart. And it's felt like, what am I proud of in the UK, in my own country at the moment? It's just nothing. It's just nothing but bad. Nothing but what the heck is going on in this country? What are we doing? You know? And it's like, here I am in Russia, and I got my permanent residency that day. It was one of the proudest days of my life. You know, what does that say?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I have residency now. I don't have citizenship yet. Sveta and I are already starting to talk about it. We're just so busy. We don't have time to think about anything because I'm doing the channel work and she's doing the immigration work. But I'm glad you said that. And it also ties into our next question from the audience. What does the residency process look like? So what do you know about that you'd like to explain?
What I know is I was quite lucky in a sense. I got a Russian wife and I had Russian children. You know, we even in the UK, we've been to the embassy, they got Russian citizenship, even though we weren't living in Russia. So if you've got Russian children, it does make it easier for you to get residency. You don't kind of have to go through the temporary residency. So I got my permanent residency because of my children, and not even because of my wife. Obviously, if you've got a Russian wife, I think it does make it a little bit easier that way. But I think the easiest way, if you haven't kind of got any kind of relatives here or something like that, is just explore the visas that there. Just go online, go to your embassy, go to the nearest visa center in the biggest city near to you, and just go in and explore what there is. You know, there's a lot of visas. You might even have a skill that they're in demand here or something like that. You know, so it's hard to say that is the process easy. Nothing's ever easy with visas. You know, it's whatever country you're in. So I'm not trying to say it's easier in this country or it's harder. It's explore your visas, explore what options you've got with those visas, and just work it out from there. Really, you know, that's kind of my best advice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know if you're an American, you can still get a 3-year visa, and that's what I recommend to people. And try to come vacation here for a month and see what you think of the place. Make some contacts. Maybe you can get some employment going, and then come on back later. I think if you have a Russian spouse, that's obviously the easiest. Next, off the top of my head, is I know that Russia does want highly qualified professionals. So if you're a highly qualified professional, they're very interested in you. You know, and then thirdly, after that, you know, Russia does want traditional family values Westerners, you know, Westerners that are going to fit with their culture. And that brings us to our next question. Is Russia safe for non-Orthodox Christians? What do you want to say about this, Martin?
100% safe. Yeah. I went on a bit about like Orthodox Christianity, but not everybody is Orthodox Christian here. You know, it's still probably like 50-50 or something like that. It's more than what I'm used to in the UK, but it's yes, it's not about just being a Christian in this country. It's about what Russia is, about, what the root, what the core values of the people here are about. They are the most welcoming people. Once you get to know them, once you gain that trust from them, if you come here trying to fool them, they'll see right through you. I'll tell you that right now. Russians are not stupid, and they won't take crap off anybody. I don't care who you are. They will not take nonsense from you. So if you come with the right intentions and you embrace what is kind of their values, their culture, embrace everything about it, you'll have no problems. You'll feel safe. But you know, you can be, even if you come to this city and you don't, you know, you're a foreigner, only really somebody's going to know you're a foreigner until you speak English. You know, I can walk down the street and not get bothered. You know, yes, I get looked at sometimes as soon as I open my mouth and speak English, but nobody really cares you're here at the end of the day. You know, it's in the nicest way of putting that. Everybody's minding their own business. Yeah, if you come in for, you know, wrong intentions, and yeah, you're gonna attract something bad. But it's if you come in with the right intentions, you know, it's absolutely, it's safe. I feel more safe than probably any other country I've been in is in Russia. And I'll say that I've been to, like I said, Australia, America, Europe. I feel very safe here. And even
Now,
from
you don't think there's any issue speaking English on the street, do you?
no, I'm not trying to say that. It's just obviously then people are, I don't know, especially here in Orenburg, people are just not used to hearing English, and it's like,
Ah, okay. So
why
it's just
somebody,
like, whoa, who are you?
yeah, wow, it's an English, really? An English person's coming to Orenburg. What the heck for, you know? Why
Okay,
you want?
because in Moscow, I'm loudly speaking English on the street almost
Oh
every
yeah,
day into my camera. Welcome to Expat America,
oh
So
yeah.
and no one cares one bit ever. Um,
No, it's just
so
I think here it's curiosity more than anything, and like because I've got it so many times. Why did you choose Orenburg? You could have chosen Sochi. You could have chosen Moscow, St. Petersburg, anywhere. And it's like, well, we're happy here. It's actually good, but yeah, they're just shocked, and it's that initial kind of wow, and English. We haven't heard English.
yeah, and I would agree with you. You do not have to be an Orthodox Christian. It's completely safe for anyone to be here. I am not an Orthodox Christian. I do consider myself a serious Christian. I was met by evangelical Protestant type Christians in my early 20s and became a Christian. So I think that in Russia you can have any faith. You can even be agnostic. You can be atheist.
Yeah,
Nobody cares. Thomas Jefferson, one of the American founding fathers, he famously said, if it doesn't pick my pocket or break my leg, what business is it of mine? And I think Russia, whether they know that quote or not, they definitely have that in mind. If you're not breaking my leg, if you're not hurting me, if you're not stealing from me, I don't care what you are.
yeah,
So I think you're absolutely free to be whoever you want to be in Russia.
yeah.
Um, so very good. All right. So next question here, and we're going to wrap it up, guys, in about 18, 17 minutes. So if you have a question, try and get it in. And we really appreciate you guys watching. Click the share button right now. Send it to some more people. We're about to break 200 in the live stream, which is very good. But Martin, are you able to answer this question? I don't even know what it means.
So that is, I wonder if Martin's wife speaks Cymraeg. I'm terrible at pronouncing. It's Welsh, basically. That's the Welsh language. So that means does my wife speak Welsh? No, it's she obviously the thing is in Wales every kind of sign is written in Welsh as well as English. It's very strange for like a foreigner coming over and seeing, what's this other language here now all of a sudden, yeah, we kind of get used to some of the signage and some of the names, but that's as far as it kind of went, I would say. I wasn't too deep into Wales where it's spoken widely. I was still on kind of the border where it's not really spoken, and it wasn't really, when I was growing up in school there, it wasn't kind of pushed as a language. It is now. They brought it back because they want to preserve the language. So if you go to
really? That's
if you go
very cool. Yeah.
anywhere, any Welsh school you go to in Wales, obviously, you have to do a certain amount of hours of Welsh per week in school. So yeah.
So is that what Cymraeg is? That's what you call Welsh language?
Cymru, I think it is. It means Welsh.
Cymraeg. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right, very good. I'm going to try and push through the questions here and get as many in as we can. Is there an English food shop there, mate? This is from the British, just the collective British people. They want to know.
No, there is certain condiments which I'm happy to see, like Worcestershire sauce or I don't know, Heinz baked beans. That's what I've come across. But you know what? I did go into some of the larger supermarkets like the Enter. I think that's the biggest one here. I was maybe hoping for an English section or an American section, something like that. But you know what? There isn't, and I'm glad. I'm glad there isn't, because the food is so good in Russia. It's unbelievably good. For example, I used to eat a lot of cereals, like I don't know, the Kellogg cereals in the UK, and since I've come here, I haven't touched normal sugary cereals once. It's literally kasha. It's really healthy, good, nutritious food. So
it's funny you say that, because I'm 49. I don't eat cereal anymore. But even when I came here to live 2 years ago, and I looked at the aisles, and the cereal boxes were unrecognizable, and there was this feeling in my heart like, oh no, but the cereal's not the same.
Exactly. Where do I find my muesli?
All right, so the British has another question for you. I don't know if it's a question. It's just kind of they're expressing their emotions.
So yeah, Cadbury's cream eggs. They're I don't think you have them in America. They're like an egg.
Oh no, we have them in America. We absolutely have them.
Yeah. How can I? Yeah, they are quite nice actually. I don't think they're here. Yeah, Cadbury's is gone now anyway. But you know what? The chocolate in Russia is delicious. It is absolutely incredible. That is something that shocks me. Is the confectionery here in Russia is unbelievable. They have like a pick and mix. Like you can just go and get different kind of in the supermarkets. They have a certain section where you can just select different sweets and chocolates and things like this. And there's so much variety of chocolate here. You don't really miss it, no.
Right.
I don't know if do you find that, Josie, with the chocolate as compared to?
So off the top of my head, what I've noticed that I like here is the Tula bread, which is like gingerbread. And I do like the candy and the chocolates here for sure. Of course, I don't have a lot of sugar now. I think this is a teasing question someone's sending me. Is there a record player and speakers behind your back? I want to ask about the guitar. Yeah, I got a guitar, and I got a record player as well. They're not mine, though. They are Sveta's sons. Alex, the 19-year-old who has spent half his life in Russia, the first half, and then he spent his second half in America, and he's been back here for the past 2 years. So this is his room. He gets basically we gave him the porch off this big Moscow Flats. So what you can see behind me is the Bible talk that's about to start in my living room as soon as I get off the live chat here in about 10 minutes. So here we go. Next one, Kazakhstan. Have you been?
Yes and no. Long story. We thought we could, without properly importing the car and paying the import duty, we thought we could just drive out after a year and drive back in over the border, and you could get another year without having to pay import duty. But as soon as I became a permanent resident, I wasn't allowed to do that. As soon as I crossed the border, like I went to Kazakhstan, and they said, "Look, you can't do that. As soon as you come in and go out, you got to pay import duty." So I was like, "Oh right." So I've briefly been to Kazakhstan in and out. But I definitely want to go. Because it's so close. When summer comes, we're getting in the car and we're driving to what's the closest biggest city? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's a bit late for me now. But yeah, I'm going to go to Kazakhstan. Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't been to any of the former Soviet republics yet. I'd like to. It's just a matter of finding the time. All right. So here's a tense question, perhaps. Do you have sons? Your thoughts that they will have to serve in the Russian army one day? What do you think about that, Mark?
Yes, so two sons. I think that is a good question, because that is obviously on a lot of people's minds. Because it's compulsory to serve, I think, a year minimum as soon as you turn 18 here in Russia. But it's not the only country does that. There's quite a few European countries that have that. UK doesn't. I don't know about America and Canada and Australia, places like that. But does it scare me? No. I think they need that little bit of discipline in them as they grow up. I think it serves them well. So I've discussed this with my wife, and I think it's worrying because of what's going on, obviously. Hopefully things will have improved by then, by the time they're 18 and things like that. But I think it's good for them to have a certain amount of kind of discipline that brings by going in the army. So,
Did you serve?
No, I have no.
Yeah. The men in my family before me served. I did not serve. So, maybe because things were going so well in America, it just wasn't necessary. Part of me thinks, would that have been good for me if I had served?
Exactly. I think it's most of the people we've spoken to have come out and done that kind of service have said it was one of the best times of their lives at that age. It's great fun, especially for a guy. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's okay ultimately. But yeah, there's a slight worry in the back of your mind, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sensitive, if you are not neurotypical, as a liberal person might say, it might not be a good thing for you. But in Russia and lots of countries, they do a screening process usually, and they won't accept everybody. And another myth in the West is that because of the current engagement that's happening, all the young men are being scooped up and put at mortal risk on the line. And that is just not the case. In Russia, if you are a young man and you're not in university, you do your 1 year of military training, and that is it. And all the people that have been called to serve now because of this current engagement, and I'm using my words carefully for the algorithm, these are people that have done more than their 1 year of required service. And except for some rare situations that become news stories. So if you're a Westerner and you're thinking of immigrating here and you're afraid for your boys, that is just not a reality right now. Of course, it could be a reality anywhere in Russia or any country at some point. My father joined the military for Vietnam to do medical equipment repair. He was a hippie. He didn't want to serve. He did it to avoid being drafted. So I would advise you, be smart, be proactive, think ahead. If you are in a country one day that might ask you to be of service because they need you, don't wait. Think about how you can be of service in a way that is going to be beneficial for your country and for you. You don't have to just hide out until they grab you and throw you on the front line. Get training and do it a certain way. I mean, in Russia, even there are certain universities you can go to where you will do your year of military training at the university. In America, you can be an officer instead of a general infantry person. You can choose if you choose ahead of time, for example.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow, that's interesting. Even within itself, different options. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So next question: is it true that Russians used to be Vikings? You, of course, are an expert in all things Russian since you recently moved here. Do you have an answer to that question?
Oh gosh, I don't.
You're allowed to say I don't know.
I don't know, and I don't think so. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right. I had heard a rumor. Of course, we don't know because it's so long ago. Russia's an old place. Is that at one point the Slavic people of this land asked Viking people to rule over them, but I don't know if that's true or not. That's something that some people like to talk about.
But what me and my wife say is there's quite a similarity between the English and the Russians. I don't know.
That's true, right? Yeah,
something there. It's like we should be the best of friends, really, and we're not.
That's what's so weird and strange. Like, why is it like this? Why is Russia treated as the other? Because they are so similar to other European countries. I mean, we all grow up with the same roots as Russians do, with Jerusalem and Athens and French food and German fairy tales and British law and all this stuff, but yet we're raised in the West to think that Russia is like the Klingons somewhere distant and different.
Far from it.
Okay. Next question: can foreigners buy land in Russia?
Well, yes, because they can buy. Obviously, there's certain. It's kind of designated in certain kind of land categories here. I'm not so sure if like a foreigner with a certain visa can buy certain agriculture land or certain types of land. But for example, I've bought a house as a foreigner and it's on land. So you own that land. So yes, you can. You could buy a plot of land that is designated for building and build a house. So yes, you can. But I think certain aspects of the land you have to be a permanent resident or a citizen for certain types of land, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay, well, let's start wrapping it up here, guys. I want to give him the chance to speak a little bit about himself. I want to know what, in case we haven't covered it, what is your channel about? And I want to know your future plans just for the rest of your life as we bring this to a close.
Yeah, so really the channel, Russian Travels, it's about, for me, why I've started doing it is to spread positivity to the rest of the world about Russia, but most importantly, positivity to the Russian people themselves. Because what I find with Russian people, I'm not trying to say anything bad here, but you don't realize what you've got. You've got this vast, amazing, incredible country, this fascinating country that is an absolute adventure to just go and explore. You've got pretty much everything you can imagine within this land, So sometimes you don't kind of know what you've got. So it's really to kind of show that on my travels and to show exciting things that I see through the eyes of like a foreigner, especially an Englishman, what interests me, and hopefully to show on the back of that to the rest of the world that it's not anywhere near what the mainstream media is telling you. That's my goal. It feels like it's my duty. It feels like it's coming through God. So that's why I'm doing it. And just the way the kind of channel has gone. It's how I see my future now. I'm just on the back of that. This is what I want to do.
Wow, terrific.
Channel,
yeah, guys. So go check out his channel. You can see it written right next to his face there, at Russian Travels. And I think I put it in the title, and if not, I will. It'll be in the description. But just jump on over there right now, and we hang up and take a look around. And what I do is I go to when I'm checking out a channel, I go to the popular videos, which will then be at the top, and then I just pick one that looks like a good length that I'm willing to watch and check them out. Like and subscribe to this channel as well. Share this video, please, so more people will see it. So it sounds like our channels are very similar. You can see provincial Russia on his channel. You can see Moscow in my channel. And if you're a Russian, like I've said before, you can see what us Anglo-Saxons think of you. If you're not Russian and you're thinking of maybe immigrating here, you can see what it's really like. We're just normal people raising our families. And we are here in this unique time in the world, something that I didn't expect was going to happen. And, we're opening our door to you so you can get a window into this place and see what it's like. So thanks so much for watching and learning about this guy, Martin, and his journey of driving over 5,000 kilometers from Wales. Was it Wales or was it England? Where were you living at the time? Yes. All the way into Orenburg, Russia. A man who likes chickens a little bit, and of course is married to a Russian woman.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joseph. And like I said, you were one of my biggest kind of inspirations and kind of reassuring people to watch on YouTube. So thank you for everything, and thank you for kind of the support you give me along the way as well. So yeah, it hasn't gone unnoticed, and I wish your channel all the best as well. It's a great channel. Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much. I'm glad we finally got to do this. And hopefully you will come to Moscow one day. We can do something in person for fun with Josiah or somebody. And if not, who knows? Maybe one day I'll come see you.
Yeah, 2 hours flight down here. So yeah.
All right, dude. Thanks so much. Everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later.
Okay, thank you.